Welcome everyone to the, what is it? It's July, to the July edition of DC604. We've got Kevin today with another workshop using Portswigger labs, doing some web app testing with authentication authorization labs and using Burp Suite Community Edition. Thank you, Kevin, so much for doing this. We always need speakers, basically. We try to do workshops lately to basically anything hands-on is great. And we're fairly flexible with the topics. And so we're gonna do, it's not gonna be a workshop in August. We'll do lightning talks, basically review some of the interesting things that were presented at Black Hat, DefCon, besides Las Vegas, etc., or any other conference for that matter. Any talk that you found interesting and are willing to give an overview why you found it interesting in like 5 to 15 minutes. If you're willing to present a little bit, let me know. And we're contemplating, as I mentioned, going in person or hybrid starting September. Also looking for speakers beyond August as well. So if you're willing to help, reach out. And with that, Kevin, go for it.
Thank you very much, Amaran. I'll be running a workshop on access control issues inside of web apps. If you want to follow, if for some reason you get lost or you need a bit of guidance during the workshop, I pasted a link to tonight's workshop guide. So inside the document, you should be able to find all of the steps we are taking to conduct our workshop. All right, so with that, I guess I'll share my screen and we can get going. Okay, so first of all, I'll do a little bit of a ghetto PowerPoint presentation to introduce myself. So tonight's workshop is called The Land Where Everyone is Admin, the Access Control Labs. So about me, your host, my name is Kevin. Online, I also go by the handle Shy Hat. I've been studying cybersecurity for about 3 years now. I'm in my 3rd year, rather. I have previously worked as a web app security tester, and I'm not currently working in a tester role. The last thing I want you guys to know is that I'm definitely not an expert in this stuff. I still have a lot to learn. And so let's talk about what we're going to be learning in today's workshop. So we're going to be learning about broken access control and access control issues inside of web apps. So what is broken access control? We can say that broken access control, or BAC for short, is the most common web app security issue and is essentially when normal web app users are able to access data or functions normally reserved for higher level users, i.e. admins. Broken access control can also be defined as when regular users are able to see other users' data or use their functions. But this is a little less exciting than when you're able to use admin functions. In today's guided workshop, we'll be identifying and discussing different broken access control issues as we work through the interactive labs on the Portswigger website. So let's get started. If you have your Burp Suite handy, your Burp Suite software handy, we're going to start it up now. So I'm going to start it up on my computer, and we're going to walk through starting it up. So we see here that Burp Suite has us go through a number of different screens before we can start it up. So what you want to do is click here on Next, and then on the next screen, we're going to click on Start Burp over here. Okay, so this is the main Burp Suite Community Edition, this one is, screen here. And the first thing I want you to do is I want you to make sure that that our proxies are not intercepting. So that that means that all of our web requests that are going through the web browser that's using Burp is not going to stop and wait for us to manually approve each request. So what we want to do is we want to go over to the proxy tab over here, and then we want to make sure that intercept is off. The good thing is on newer versions of Burp Suite, intercept is off by default. Okay, so without having that taken care of, we can go over and we can open the Burp Suite browser. So the Burp Suite browser that we open up inside of Burp Suite is going to be automatically linked to Burp Suite, and will proxy all of the requests through that browser. So click on Open Browser over here. So proxy, intercept, open browser. Okay, so from there, we want to go to portswigger.net/users, portswigger.net/users, and here we want to log in. We want to log into our Portswigger account. So from here, I use this email address, and I use this password, which you won't be able to see, and then we log in. So everybody, if for some reason you're having issues with logging in or starting up your Burp Suite, please type in the chat, and the moderators will try to help you. Okay, so everybody, if you're logged in, if you've started up Burp Suite and you've logged into your Portswigger account, please type logged in the chat to let me know that you've gotten thus far.
I see there's a new topic, JWT attacks. We should do those sometime.
Yeah, it's actually JWT attacks are actually something I myself want to learn more about as well. Okay, so we've got a number of people logged in. If you're having trouble, please let us know in chat so we can help you progress. Let's see. So if you've already logged in, we're going to go to our first vulnerable lab, which is the Unprotected Admin Functionality Lab. So inside of your Burp Suite browser, you want to go to this address, which I'm going to paste into chat, and proceed there. So what are we talking about here? We've got a lab. It's called Unprotected Admin Functionality. Let me look at the guide so we can see exactly what steps we're going to take. If you're following the guide right now, we're on part 1, step 1. Okay, and then we're going to review the lab instructions. The lab instructions instruct us that we're going to access the lab's unprotected admin panel, and we're going to delete the user Carlos. Okay, sounds simple enough. So to access the lab, we're going to click on this green Access the Lab button. So click on the button, and that should start up a lab. Okay, so everybody, if you see that the app has started up and you see this this screen over here, please type "Game On" in chat.
Can you say the lab name again? Kevin?
The lab name is called Unprotected Admin Functionality. I'll paste the link in the chat again. I hope this the link works. Yeah, it should work. Okay, so let's keep on going. So I've got a little quiz. So everybody who's testing web apps or doing CTFs that involve websites, what's one of the first things you might try? What's one of the first things you might try when you come across a fresh app and you want to start enumerating some of the endpoints? Alexandra says game on, but she doesn't have Burp Suite up yet. Alexandra, are you have you not installed Burp Suite on your computer? Alexandra needs to log into a VM. Okay, okay, but yeah, we're not going to go super fast, so hopefully that we give you enough time to catch up with us. All right, so one of the first things we might try when we're enumerating a new web app is to see if the website has a robots.txt page, a robots.txt file available. So we go to the end of our URL over here, and then we're going to go to the endpoint robots.txt. If you've heard of the robots.txt file, please type robots in chat. Timothy Beck has, Anthony, Jason, Amaran, we all know about the robots, okay. But yeah, so the robots.txt file is a file that's intended to provide search engine web crawling robots with a list of directories inside the website that they are or are not allowed to index on the search engine. But as far as security is concerned, robots.txt can be very unintuitive, as it might expose potential sensitive endpoints of the website to potential attackers. For example, so the robots.txt does not want web crawling robots to access this administrator panel endpoint over here. But that's exactly what we want to use. So we're going to navigate to the administrator panel inside of the app. So we're going to, okay, error. Close that. So we're going at the end of the URL, we're going to go to administrator panel like this. And it's going to expose the administrator panel for us. And we see that we've got a list of users here, Carlos and Wiener, and we want to delete the Carlos user to complete the lab. So we can just click on the link, easy peasy, and delete Carlos. And with that, you should see the orange banner over here that says, congratulations, you solved the lab. So everybody, if you've managed to successfully delete Carlos within the app, please type in easy win in the chat now. Okay, we've got a bunch of you guys communicating your easy win. That's glad. I'm glad to hear that. What are some of the lab takeaways? So the vulnerability in this lab was that the admin panel was exposed to normal users, and the exact location of the admin panel was exposed in the robots.txt file. So how exactly would we mitigate against this kind of vulnerability? Anybody in chat, if you have a suggestion, you can type it in chat now. So a safer way of using the robots.txt file would be to include all parts of the website that are safe for search engine indexing, instead of supplying a list of potentially sensitive endpoints inside the app that that would be disallowed from searching. Unfortunately, this involves a lot of work from developers because they basically have to include every endpoint that is allowed to be searched by search engines, which could be a very, very long list for some apps. Oops. Okay, so let's move on to the next lab, everyone. All right, so everybody, the next lab we're going to be tackling tonight is called Unprotected Admin Functionality with Unpredictable URL. I'm going to paste the URL for everybody to copy over here in chat. And we're going to access. Alexandra says, before we start, can we review starting Burp Suite? Okay. So everybody, so starting Burp Suite, I'm going to close Burp Suite and restart really quick, just so we can demonstrate again. So we start up Burp Suite, and then we will see that there is this window that pops up here, and we want to click on Next. And then on the next window, we want to click on Start Burp Suite over here in the corner. Okay, so from there, we're going to click on Proxy, click on the Proxy tab up here. And then in the Intercept tab here, we're going to make sure that Intercept is off. In some versions, Intercept might be on. We're going to toggle that to off and make sure that is off. And then we're going to click on Open Browser to open up the Burp Suite integrated browser. And then we're going to access our next lab, which is Unprotected Admin Functionality with Unpredictable URL, by pasting it into the address bar here. Okay, so let's review what we're going to be doing in this next lab. So the lab instructions say that there is an unprotected admin panel in the lab application. The location of the admin panel, Alexandra, we want to make sure that Intercept is off. So the location of the admin panel is disclosed somewhere in the application. To complete the lab, we're going to use the admin panel to delete the user Carlos. So we start the lab by clicking on the green Access Lab button. Okay, so we've accessed, we've started up the lab app here. And what we can do is we can try to look for a robots.txt file in this app. Unfortunately, it doesn't exist, but everybody, is there another first step that that's pretty common as far as enumerating a new web app? Timothy Beck says view source. Okay, yeah, that could be a very good option. So everybody, I hope you know about viewing HTML source. What you can do is you can either right-click on the inside the web app and click on View Page Source, or you can use the keyboard shortcut, which is Control U. So either way, click on View Page Source, and the HTML code for this particular page pops up here. So we were told that there was an admin endpoint in this app. So what we could do is we could search this by doing a search command, which is Control F, and maybe we want to look for any instances of admin inside of this app. So admin functionality, admin, go down. We see some JavaScript over here. var is admin equals false. And we see down here on line 46, there's a link right here in href to admin dash some random letters over here. So it seems that the admin endpoint, the name of the admin endpoint, is slightly randomized by the app when it's created, but the name of the endpoint is exposed inside of the page source, which is good for us because we can use this admin to access the admin endpoint. So copy your admin endpoint over here, and then we're going to go back to the app, and we're going to tack that on to the end of our admin, our lab web app URL. So we see here that we've accessed the admin endpoint again, and to complete the lab, we just click on the link that deletes Carlos. Okay, so if you've successfully completed the lab, it'll tell you with the orange banner over here. Everybody, if you deleted Carlos again, please type Carlos down in the chat. All right, you guys have taken down Carlos again. Congratulations. So let's go over the security issue that was in this lab. So the security issue in this lab was the source data. So web page source files are easily accessible and should never have sensitive data, such as passwords or links to sensitive endpoints contained within them. So sometimes it's developers like to imagine that if links are not immediately visible to users inside of the regular browser view, that they're hidden, but that's simply not the case. Okay, so let's move on to the next lab. So the next lab is lab number 3, which is user role controlled by request parameter. I'm going to paste the link for this in the chat. And then I will access the page in my Burp Suite browser. So this lab is going to be a little more difficult than the previous 2 labs. They're ramping up a little bit in difficulty. So let's take a look at the guide document. So we're on part, so for people who are following along with the guide document, we're on part 3 right now. So we're on step 2. We're going to review the lab instructions. It says here that the lab app has an admin panel at this /admin endpoint. And to complete the lab, we're going to delete the user Carlos as per usual. And we are provided with a working set of credentials, Wiener Peter, where Wiener is the username and Peter is the password. Okay, so everybody, if you're ready to go, please type in, let's go. All right, so let's start up the app. So for these labs where we are provided with working credentials for the app, it's probably a good idea to log in using those credentials and see what exactly is going on inside of those requests. So to log into the app, we're going to go to the My Account link over here. Just click on that, click there, and it'll bring us to the login endpoint, where we can use our Wiener username and Peter password. And then click login. Okay, and now we're on our account page. My account, your username is Wiener. Okay, that's great. So let's try going to the admin endpoint. So here in the URL here, we're not going to be going to my account. We're going to try to go to the /admin endpoint. Okay, and it gives us the message here that the admin interface is only available if logged in as an administrator. But what exactly controls whether or not we are an administrator? So to find that out, we're going to go to our Burp Suite. So click on your Burp Suite, go back to your Burp Suite program, and we're going to go to the proxy, but we're going to go to intercept. We're going to go to our HTTP history. So click on HTTP history inside of Burp Suite. So proxy HTTP history, and we're going to sort. We're going to sort all of these requests by the method. I think it's already sorting by method by default over here, but just click on method until you see the down arrow here, and we're going to click on the post request that we send to the login endpoint right here. So click on the login entry here, and we'll see a breakdown of both the request that we sent to the app and the response we got from the app. So inside the request window here, if we scroll all the way down, we see that we supplied the username Wiener and the password Peter to the web server. And in response, we received a redirect to my account over here, and we were also set a cookie. We got a cookie set to our account. Sorry, not to our account, to our session, and it contains the words admin equals false. So cookies inside our web browsers are actually editable. We can modify them. What value for admin do you think would give us access to the admin page? You can type your answers in chat now. Okay, Alexandra at the gate. She says that we can supply the value true, and that is absolutely true. So we've been set a cookie, and this is basically a flag. So admin equals false, but inside of our web browser, we can edit this. So let's go back to our web browser. And I think to access the developer tools, we can use the keyboard shortcut Control-Shift-U. So Control-Shift-U. Wait, is it Control-Shift-U or Control-Shift? It might be Control-Shift-I. Yeah, it's Control-Shift-I, everybody. Yeah, Amaran, thank you very much. So inside of here, we can see that inside the application tab, we can click on cookies. And inside of cookies, we can click on the URL for our lab app right here. So from there, we can see that there are 2 cookies assigned to us, and the admin cookie over here is set to false. But we can click inside the cell, and we can change this from false to true. So after we type in true and hit enter, we can reload this web page over here. And we see that we have access to the admin page, to the admin panel here. Okay, so everybody, you can click on the delete link and delete the Carlos user. And that solves the lab. So everybody, if you've completed this lab by deleting Carlos, please type in Cookie Monster in chat now. All right, looks like we've got some people deleting users. That's like what we like to see. Well, in this context, anyways. So let's take a look at the vulnerability for this particular lab. So for lab 3, the vulnerability here was an unsafe cookie. So security cookies must never contain values that are easily predicted, such as admin equals true. Since it is very easy to falsify this information, even with a web browser, you don't need any special tools. You don't even need Burp Suite to modify cookies. You just need a web browser. So as a result, security cookie values should contain an element of encryption and be random enough so that it would be difficult to attempt a brute force attack to determine valid values. All right. Let's move on to the next lab, everybody. We're just flying through these tonight. So the next lab is called User Role Can Be Modified in User Profile. And I'm going to drop a link to the lab in chat. And we're going to access the lab inside of our web browsers. So everybody, if you're following along, we are currently on part 4. So part 4, and we're on step 2. And we're going to review the lab instructions. So this lab is a little more complicated than the previous labs. The difficulty is ramping up. There's an admin panel at the /admin endpoint. The panel can only be accessed by user sessions that include a role ID value of 2. We are provided with credentials for the web app, Wiener being the username and Peter being the password. And once again, the goal of this lab is to access the admin panel and to delete the Carlos user. Okay, so everybody, let's click on the green Access Lab button to start up the app. Okay, so like last time, what we're going to do is we're going to we're going to log into the app. Actually, wait, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the admin endpoint just to make sure that we can't access the admin endpoint when we're not logged in. So if we go to /admin over here, we can see that the admin interface is only available if logged in as an administrator. All right, well, let's try to get those admin privileges. We're going to log into our account by clicking on the My Account link, like we did last time. And we're going to provide our login credentials, Wiener and Peter, and log in. And we see inside of the My Account page here that we have a function inside of our app, and the function lets us change our email address. So when we're testing web applications, we definitely want to test out all of the different functions to see how they work. So what we're going to do is we're going to try modifying our email so that it's not user@normaluser.net, wiener@normaluser.net, but rather test@test.com. And we're going to click on the button here to update our email. And we see that our email has been changed to test@test.com. But what exactly happened when we did that? What we can do is we can take a look at the request inside of Burp Suite, like we did before. So we're going to go back to our Burp Suite window, and this time we're going to go down to our post my account /change email request over here. So click on that, and we can see that the post request included what is known as JSON data. So the JSON data here in the body included an email parameter with test@test.com as our value, which is what we provided to the app. But what's more interesting is what we see in the response. So we see in the response window here that not only did we get where we returned our email, we were also returned a bunch of other information. For example, we got our username, we got our API key, and we also got our role ID. And if you remember from the description of the web app, that administrator functions are available to people who have a role ID of 2. So we currently have a role ID of 1. What do you think is something we could possibly do with given the information that we know, to try to get ourselves a role ID of 2? So if you have a suggestion, please type it in the chat. I'll just wait. I'll wait a few seconds for the answers to come in. Okay, so Jason Watt suggests that we change the ID. All right, yeah, we could certainly attempt to change the ID, but what exactly would we do to change the ID? Jason says we're going to send it to the repeater. So Jason is absolutely correct. What we're going to do is we're going to take this request that we use to modify our email address, and we're going to repeat it. We're going to replay the request to the app. So what we can do, so inside the request window, we can right-click and we can select send to repeater. So click on send to repeater, and this request will be sent to the burp repeater. So from there, we can see that the repeater has lit up orange, and we can click on the repeater tab over here, and we can see our post request that changes our email. So we can see that that our the values that we sent before are over here. But what we're going to do is not only are we going to modify our email address, we're also going to modify our role ID, which we can do by modifying the request by inserting a comma, and then we're going to do double quotes, role ID, and then double quotes, colon, and just the number 2. So our modified request should look like this. So email is test@test.com, comma, role ID, colon, 2. And role ID is wrapped up in these double quotes, just like this. Okay, so everybody, after you've modified the request so that it looks like this, we're going to hit send with the orange send button over here. And in the response, we'll see that we've received all of our updated information. And included in there, we see our role ID is equal to 2 now. So having seen that, let's try to access the admin panel again. So we go back to our web browser, and then we're going to try to go back to not the My Account page, but the admin page. So admin over here. And we see that after we've modified our role ID parameter there, we can delete the user Carlos. So right here, click on delete. And we see that we've solved the lab. So everybody, if you've managed to successfully modify the JSON data and send it and delete the Carlos user, please type JSON, just like this, in chat after you completed that. Nice, nice. I see some results coming in. So if anybody is having trouble sending the request and getting this response, you might want to double check that the grammar is all correct. So inside the JSON data, make sure that there is a comma here. So comma, and then you don't have to insert the you don't have to press the return key by yourself. It's just after the comma. So after the comma, just double quote, role ID, and then double quote, and then colon, and then 2, and then send that request. And it should appear like this. Okay, if anybody's stuck, please type I'm stuck in chat, and we'll try to help you out. So while we wait for anybody who may be potentially stuck, let's take a look at the vulnerability in this lab. So lab 4, the vulnerability was an insecure function. So user-controlled app functions must be scrutinized and tested to ensure that they cannot be used to perform any input or modification other than that, well, what they were intended for. Okay. All right, so everybody, let's move on to the next lab. So this will be lab 5, and the lab is called User ID Controlled by Request Parameter. And I'm going to paste the link into chat. So yeah, so it looks like we're moving through these labs at a pretty brisk pace, and we'll probably be finished way ahead of schedule, which means we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers at the end. So let's move on to the next lab then. Okay, so let's take a look at the instructions for this lab. If you're keeping up with the lab guide, we're now on part 5, and we're doing step 2. We're going to review the lab instructions. So it says here that there is a horizontal privilege escalation vulnerability on the user account page. Okay, so we need to pay attention to the user account page. And we're going to utilize the vulnerability to obtain the API key for the user Carlos. And we're going to use that API key and submit it as a solution to the lab to complete the lab. And we've also been provided credentials for the lab app, which once again are Wiener and Peter. Okay, so let's start up the lab. Okay, so we're back to our familiar web app here. What we're going to do is, like in the previous labs, we're going to try to log in to the app using the My Account link over here. So just click on the My Account link. And then from there, we're going to use the provided credentials, Wiener and Peter. And we log in. Okay, so on the My Account page, we see that our username is Wiener, and our API key is this. Well, all right. So let's take a look at the request inside of Burp Suite to see if there's anything special there. So we can go back to Burp Suite, and we're going to go back. We're not on the repeater anymore. We're going to go back to our proxy and an HTTP history. And then we can scroll down to our latest login post request over here. Okay, so we see that, so we submitted our username and password, and we are redirected to the My Account page. And we're also given a session cookie, but unfortunately, we're not given any other information over here. So what we can do is we can kind of play around with the app. We can go back home. And maybe we can go back to My Account, to our My Account page. And if you are an astute observer, you can see that when we went back to the My Account page, for some reason, the My Account URL also includes this snippet over here, which is a URL parameter. So URL parameters are identified by the question mark over here, followed by the value, by the parameter name, followed by the value of the parameter. So we can see that the ID is equal to Wiener, which is our user account name. So this is something we can use to take advantage of the application. But how exactly would we take advantage of the application given this information here? If anybody has any suggestions in chat, you can go ahead and type them into chat now. So we know that we want to access Carlos's user data, and we see that you see that the app is taking the name of users as a value for the ID parameter. Amaran says try a different user, and Anthony says to change the ID to Carlos. Well, we're going to try exactly that, and we're going to change the ID here from Wiener, and we're going to try Carlos because it's the only other ID that we know. So we're going to type that in, and lo and behold, we see that the My Account information has changed. We see that our username is Carlos now, and our API key is this. So what you want to do is you want to copy this, and you want to click on the orange Submit Solution button over here. Because our goal was to get the API key of Carlos and submit it as the solution to the lab. So paste it in here, click OK. And it says, congratulations, you solved the lab. OK, so if you managed to solve the lab by submitting the API key for Carlos, please type in keys stolen in chat. Okay, so let's take a look at the vulnerability for this particular lab. So the last lab had an insecure function, and this lab has an insecure URL parameter. So URL parameters, we can see from the example over here. So the start of a URL parameter is a question mark, and then the key for the parameter, the name of the parameter, and then the value. So we see here in this example here, we've actually passing two parameters through to the URL, both color, which is blue, and sort equal to newest. So URL requests using parameters that retrieve sensitive data should always include access control checks, typically with session cookies. So this app is a bit insecure because it doesn't implement access control checks to see if you're supposed to be able to see the data that you're trying to pass. Oops. So how could you, so like we said it here, the app should test whether or not you are the user in question when you try to access that user's profile page. So if we were to log out, of the app, so we click on log out, and so we're not any user right now. So we're not any user right now, but the lab is further vulnerable because we can go directly to my account, Carlos, even though we're not logged in at all. So even if we're not logged in, if we provide this this URL parameter ID equals Carlos, then it automatically logs us in as Carlos, which is a big problem. Okay, so everybody, let's go to the last lab that we're going to be covering tonight, which is called Insecure Direct Object References. So I'm going to copy the link and provide it in chat. And we're going to navigate here ourselves. Okay, so this is the this is lab number 6. So in the workshop guide, we're looking at part 6, and we're doing step 2, which is review the lab instructions. So it says here that chat logs are stored on the service file system, and they can be accessed with static URLs. And the lab is solved by finding the password for the Carlos user and logging into their account. Okay, that sounds simple enough. Let's start up the lab. So access the lab. Okay, so we see our usual links over here, but we also see something new. So it says here home and my account. It also says live chat over here. Let's see. So it's in the lab instructions. It said that chat logs are stored on the service file system. So that that indicates to us that we probably want to check out the live chat link and start looking for any clues over there. So we're going to click on the live chat link. And we see that we were inside of this this chat application. So we can try to send a message, testing, and we can send that. And then the chat bot is going to send a reply to us. It looks like we can send more stuff. And we just received more chatbot responses here. So in addition to send, we also have the option to view transcript over here. So we're going to click on the view transcript link, and it's going to download a file for us. So what we can do is we can click here, and we can open it. And so I'm using Windows, so it's going to open up a notepad, and we see that there is a chat log over here, and that looks kind of interesting. One thing that we can note is that the file name for this chat log was titled 2.txt. So when we see that we have access to something that's a number inside of a web application, what are some things we can try testing as far as seeing if we can discover some additional stuff is concerned? If you have a suggestion, please type it in chat. What we can do also is we can take a look at our proxy HTTP history, and we can go down to the post request here called download transcript. Alexandra types in chat 1, which is quite astute. That's a good answer. So we see here inside of our post request to download transcript, we supply our information over here, and then in the response, it relocates us to a location, which is download-transcript/2.txt. Well, what we can do is when we see a number or anything else that can be easily guessed inside of a web application, we can try to iterate through these kind of files to see if there's anything else available to us. So we see that the location here is download-transcript/2.txt. Let's try the same thing, but we're going to try 1.txt. So inside of our web browser, we can go to this endpoint here, /download transcripts, and then we're going to do 1.txt and see if this works. So it turns out that that was a valid URL, and we receive the 1.txt file. So when we open it up, we see that it's a different chat log. So it says here, hi Hal, I've forgotten my password. Can I get the right one? And the chat box says no problem. Then you say, okay, my password is this. So since we didn't have this conversation with the chatbot, we can only assume that that this password belongs to somebody else, possibly Carlos. Well, we don't know that for sure, but we can try submitting this as the solution to the lab. So here, we can go back to, no, wait, sorry. Here, we can go to my account. So we go to my account here. And supposing that this is the password for Carlos, we type in Carlos as the username, and we can paste in the password from the text file as the password, and then click on login. And we see that that was the password because it says, congratulations, you solved the lab. So this vulnerability, and the vulnerability in this lab was an example of an IDOR vulnerability. So if you manage to solve the lab, please type in IDOR or IDOR in chat now. Anthony has it right. He's taking everything very literally. Okay. So everybody, let's take a look at the vulnerability in this lab here. IDOR or something. Thank you very much, Amaran. Okay, so lab 6, this vulnerability is the IDOR vulnerability, which stands for Insecure Direct Object Reference. So app objects, for example, chat log files that are either directly accessed by users or otherwise visible to users should be secured in one or both of the following ways. So A, use access control to ensure users can only interact with their own objects. Or B, randomize object names to prevent unauthorized access by guest object names. So a lot of apps use B, random object names. So when an object is created by the app, it'll either be sent to, so the name of the object will be randomized to prevent users from being able to guess the names of other people's objects. That is the way. That's one way we can get around IDOR vulnerabilities. So let's take a look at. So everybody, so that's the last lab that we're going to be covering tonight. So there are many ways in which login pages can be misconfigured to allow enumeration of valid users. Oh wait, no, that's not that's not our takeaway. Our takeaway is that there are many ways that apps can be misconfigured so that users can access data or functions that they're not supposed to, but proper implementation of access control lists for user sessions and secure session tokens are some good ways that that users can. There are some good ways that developers can use to make sure that these access control issues can be mitigated. So everybody, let's go to my summary. Yeah, so broken access control is a serious issue present in some form on a large number of web apps and can be prevented with proper access control lists and securely coded session tokens, among other measures. So everybody, if you have questions and or comments, please feel free to type them in chat now. So seeing as this is the end of the workshop, let's open it up so that everybody can ask questions using audio. So I'm going to.
Yeah, Kevin, I think that basically concludes the workshop. Kevin, I think we should, when we publish the video, we should cut it here so people can ask questions and not be afraid of being recorded.
Oh, okay, okay.
Open
so
up
yeah,
the mic.
let's. So I'm going to stop my screen share.